Okay, we are back. Do we have Councillor Huffman on the line? Yes, we do. Good afternoon. I'd like to re-welcome all members and guests to the March 5th, 2024 Special Council meeting. I'd like to remind everyone our meetings are web streamed and televised. I see we do have one individual on the line, so just remember to keep your camera off and mute yourself, and then use your Microsoft Teams hand raise feature to be called upon. And with that, I call the March 5th, 2024 Special Council meeting to order. All members of council are present. Councillor Huffman is virtual. Sorry, all members of council except one are present. Councillor Huffman is virtual. Councillor Columbus sends his regrets. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Vandendriessche, Councillor Michelli, all in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. We have one item on the agenda, and that is item 10.2.1 under Community Development Division, ZNPL 2023-394, 60 Prospect Street, Port Dover, CD 24017. Mr. Sloan.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. We just wanted to thank Council for calling this special meeting so that we can meet our legislated timelines for the development application, as we will need to make a decision today on that. So we really appreciate that. And then I wanted to turn it over to our planner, Fabian, who's going to provide an overview of the rezoning report before you. Fabian?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So I've prepared the following recommendation report before you. So the applicant is proposing a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the property into two components. The western component would consist of the existing single detached house and would remain as R1A. And the other component is to rezone the eastern portion of the lot to R2 in order to facilitate the development of a semi-detached dwelling. So the applicant is proposing a zoning bylaw amendment to amend the bylaw for components to accommodate the existing residential dwelling for interior and exterior yard setbacks, as well as the rear yard setback, and to accommodate the semi-detached dwelling as well. For this application, there were letters of objection that were received. The public concerns that were raised in these letters had to do with compatibility and intensification concerns, parking, privacy, and the building height, as well as grading and drainage. So to respond to the public concerns, so in regards to compatibility, the applicant's proposing a semi-detached dwelling. Thank you. The applicant is proposing a semi-detached dwelling, and it's understood that the area consists primarily of single detached dwellings, but there are numerous examples all over the county that consist of a mixture of single detached, semi-detached townhomes incorporated throughout developments, and as well as as the property is located within our urban boundary. The proposal is also in line with our Norfolk County intensification policies in regards to intensification. Through parking considerations, the proposal meets the parking requirements. At the same time, while meeting the parking requirements, they are also at the same time removing some on-street parking, but the parking spaces that are being removed from the on-street parking aren't anticipated to be a detriment to parking on the entire road. And in terms of building height, the height that's being permitted is a permitted, the height that's being proposed is a permitted height within our bylaws. So essentially they're in conformity there. And in regards to grading and drainage, this was one of the most common concern that was held across members of the public. And so in regards to grading and drainage, we met with our engineering staff and we reviewed the grading plan that was provided with the survey. And it was determined that at the point of the process in which we are in, the details provided on the grading plan are sufficient. And to second that, not only are they sufficient, but they are in line with the Norfolk County design guidelines and criteria. So essentially, the comments that development engineering have provided in regards to grading and drainage are provided to allow the applicant and the agent as kind of a warning, if you will, that you will need to ensure that X, Y, and Z is on your plan as submitted, or when you submit your grading, your final grading and drainage plan to the municipality as a part of the building permit process. So the drainage and grading details that were provided are deemed satisfactory by staff. And these letters have also been attached as attachment C into the report, and staff are recommending approval of the zoning application. If you have any further questions, I'm available. And just, Madam Mayor, just so you're aware, the one person online is the agent for the property owner.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Fabian. Questions of committee to staff? Councillor Van Andrieschie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through. The big one there for me was the drainage. So you feel that you will have that problem solved, because it seemed to me that there was a lot of issues about drainage in that particular area. And how are you going to go about solving that issue where the water comes this way?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So when later in the process, the applicant will have to submit a grading and drainage plan in which it's reviewed and commented. So there's going to have to be amendments to the plan if required, if it's not along with the Norfolk County design guidelines and criteria. At this point in time, I know that there were concerns raised on it, but our staff have identified that it is in conformity with their design guidelines. So
Just one more. Is there, if it's not able to do what it's meant to do, is there any consequences after to the developer or to the homeowner that's building if that water ends up on somebody else's yard?
To Madam Mayor, to the councillor. So at this stage, during the zoning stage, generally in engineering ensure in principle that it is possible to manage drainage on site, and the detailed review comes when the building permit is applied. So during the building permit stage, it will be further reviewed, and based on our design criteria, as Fabian mentioned, that no overflow will be allowed to adjacent properties. So that will be ensured through that building permit process.
Any other questions? Councillor Michelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to staff. This can be for Fabian or for Mohammed. So what, and I'm just trying to review what we had discussed before. What happens to the existing house that's there on the property right now?
through you, the existing house will remain as is. The only changes in terms of the buildings on the lot that are currently there, there's a detached garage that is going to be removed, but the house itself that currently stands there, the plan is for that to remain in its current spot.
Okay, thank you. And so, and I guess just also pursuant to Councillor Van Driesch's question, so when they submit this grading and drainage plan, if it's not sufficient, what options will they have?
Through Madam Mayor to the councillor, again, there are engineering solutions. We don't know what solution they will provide, but there are engineering solutions, and all I can say at this time is that when they will apply for a building permit, the grading will be reviewed in detail, and the solution has to be made by the owner, how to avoid any kind of overflow to other lands or any kind of inflow from the other lands. That will be ensured. In this case, I see that they propose a retaining wall, but again, this is during the zoning stage. We don't review that in detail, but that will be further reviewed during the building permit stage. And as I said, that there are engineering solutions to solve this problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other hands? There is a staff recommendation before us. Does someone wish to propose it or an alternative? Moved by Counselor Van Passen, seconded by Counselor Vanendrishi. Any debate or discussion? The recommendation reads that application ZNPL 2023-394 affecting the lands known municipally as 60 Prospect Street, Port Dover, to amend the Norfolk County zoning bylaw 1Z 2014 for the western portion of the subject lands from urban residential type 1 R1A to urban residential type 1 R1A. Pardon? They both read the same. And they're supposed to?
It's supposed
Okay,
to
with a
read that
special
way.
provision?
That's right.
Okay. R1A with special provision, 14.1048, and to rezone the eastern portion of the subject lands from urban residential type 1 R1A to urban residential type 2 R2. There we go. With a special provision, 14.1048, to the subject lands be approved as shown in attachment D of report CD 24-017, and further that public input was received for this application and therefore was considered as part of the decision and outlined in staff report CD 24-017. Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. I read that same recommendation. I read the zoning, the proposed draft bylaw, and yeah, I was bouncing my head back and forth on it too, but then I hope I got this right, because the intent is as soon as this gets approved, they will be applying to sever that lot, but currently you can only have the one bylaw with the one section 14, right? That's why you're talking about the east side and the west side.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's correct. There should be two parts. There's part 1, which would refer to the western, and then part 2, which would refer to the eastern component.
If it was already severed, it'd be, the first one would get 14.1048, and the other one would be 14.1049. But since they're not severed yet, that's why it's all on one bylaw, right? Thanks.
Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? And opposed? The motion is carried. Duplicate page here. With that, we're looking for a mover and a seconder on our confirming bylaw. Bylaw 2024-19 be a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on the special council meeting held on the 5th day of March 2024 be approved. Zoning bylaw. Right, 11.1, thank you. That bylaw 2024-18 be approved, signed by the mayor and clerk and affixed with the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Duthie, seconded by Councillor Huffman. All in favor? Okay, and a confirming bylaw, my apologies, 2024-19 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of Norfolk County at the special council meeting held on the 5th day of March 2024 be approved. Moved by Councillor Brunton, seconded by Councillor Vanendrishi. All in favor? That is carried, and Councillor Huffman moves to adjourn us at 4:31 p.m., seconded by Councillor Michelli. All in favor? That is carried. Thanks, everyone. Good night.